Welcome. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We shall begin our show now.
Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
We Are Storkley, Conscious Brand Apparel.
And welcome to another episode of Creatives Chat. Hi, I'm Rusty.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Peter, who have we got lined up today?
Oh, Rusty, I'm stoked. We have a Creatives Chat first. So this duo is the brainchild of Seattle-based producers Afterspace and Modern Virtue. Now, I would say that they've been experimenting with house, techno, a wide variety and range of dance music. And I'm going to tell you, man, they've created some, I would almost really like to say, uniquely explosive sounds. And not only that, it gives you that almost like cinematic, dramatic, emotional experience that really just transports you to and transcends every listener to a really immersive experience. And they can tell because it just brings you that energy and it just comes through that sound. And it's just, I'm almost speechless because I'm just really excited to have on Ghost Gun. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
If I have any questions, I'll pop back in. So enjoy the show.
Oh, yo, I'm so excited to have the love child between Afterspace and Modern Virtue. So just for the listeners, Reggie, Afterspace, right there. Yeah, there we go. And we have Taylor, Modern Virtue.
What's up?
Oh, man. So Ghost Gun, your guys' EP just came out, and I love it. I'm blown away.
Thank you so much.
Dude, the electronic sound, it transcends so many different categories. I just love the full scope of the different styles and genres that you have within it. Like, it's just such a good, almost like little resume and being like, yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
awesome.
that. I like
I
that.
like that a lot too.
Well, when did you guys really decide that that was the type of sound you guys were going to put on the EP?
Oh man, that's a loaded question in and of
Yeah,
itself.
it's very loaded.
I feel like it was a discovery process as we went, right?
Yeah.
The third track on the album is actually the first song we ever really started for the project, and we started it back on December 30th actually, and it sounded so much different. Like, yeah, it was completely different, but it evolved as we kind of found our sound, and
Yeah. I think we were just kind of throwing stuff at the wall at first.
yeah.
Kind of like, we had a lot of different genres we like to listen to, and even just our own individual of what we make separately. And so like coming together was like, we knew we kind of wanted to stay within like dance music and like a house and some sort of influence within house, but whatever that meant could be whatever it came about. But
Yeah. It felt really natural though. Like, it felt like as we kind of fell into our collaborative process, our sound just kind of came naturally. All the idea at first, we came in with like this huge amount of ideas, and kind of as we narrowed down what we wanted to focus on, I feel like the songs really came to life.
yeah.
Oh, well, I will say Gamma Ray slaps. I think it's just that, well, because it brings you back to that like nostalgic techno that I feel like we all kind of grew up listening to, but it's also that combination of the house. You also have a little bit of that just like modern electric dance, and it gets you into that.
Yeah.
You guys actually expressed it perfectly. So those listening, you got to check it out because it's that cinematic type of vibe. Like, we'll get into that with Tides, but yo, I'm telling you, like, every track on there, I was like, oh yeah, I could see this in something. Like, and when I like to listen to like electronic music, I always close the eyes, and whenever it transforms and it literally like transports you somewhere, like you can feel the emotion and just like uncontrollable movement. I'm just like, this is it.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal, right? Like, I don't know if that's always the goal of music, but I think when I approach something, it tends to be kind of in a visual, like cinematic aspect, because maybe it's that transcendent thing I'm always looking for to try to like get out of the current, like wherever I am producing it. And if it takes you somewhere, that means the idea actually has like momentum or something.
Yeah.
But Yeah, the description literally came because that's what everyone told us that sounded like. Just like how you, like, we just showed people like, what do you think? And they're like, oh man, it sounds like you should be in a movie.
It really takes you somewhere.
Yeah, and we're just like, okay, well that's gonna be the bio, so that's great.
Well, that's part of the creative expression, man. It's like you can feel the emotion into it, and when it starts to get you into a different mindset, that's when you're just like, oh, this is dope.
I think emotion is a huge thing. You kind of nailed it, because like a lot of, I think not necessarily a lot of dance music, but a good chunk of it kind of lacks in the emotional like transcendence aspect, which I think a lot of people, when they're going to go listen, you're not always trying to like turn up, and it's not always like pre-funk time. Like sometimes you're actually trying to have like a moment of like, I want to groove, but I also want to like be taken somewhere, which is is kind of, it's not always like hard to do, but it's definitely something that tends to be a little bit like you have to go within when you go into the creative process. That's kind of the thing you're looking for when you go to make something.
I love that you like brought up all that old school techno, because like man, I remember when my brother came home with a CD with like some Alice DJ and just like a whole bunch of old school techno, like some Benny Benassi on there and stuff. We just like I just remember being shocked at like 5 or 6 years old and being like, what am I hearing? I've never heard anything like this before. And I just remember like feeling the emotions of different lyrics and feeling these roller coaster productions, and just really being inspired to kind of show that journey through music and kind of bring back a little bit of that soul, a little bit to dance music. I don't think it ever left all the way, but we're trying to bring it back to the forefront for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, mission accomplished. Like it's one of those things where it's like it's such an appetizer of an EP. You're just like, I want more.
We got more. Don't worry. We got more. It's coming. It's coming.
Well, I mean, speaking of it, like Reggie, you spoke on it a little bit, just like the creative process earlier. Like, what is your guys' creative process as a duo? Because again, this is a creative chat first, being able to interview like two musicians, like two trained artists in the craft. Like, what do you guys do? Like, are we in the lair right now?
This is one of them.
This is
probably the main lair. Yeah, definitely. So
most of the gear talk real quick here, but I don't know. Like, I guess like when we first started, we kind of just take turns in like who's sitting on the computer and who's at the instrument, and one person would just kind of like play something while the other sat there editing or like acting as engineer and like telling us like what things didn't work and what things did. And then, but really like Gamma Ray was literally something where we were just throwing different ideas that worked, and the process just kind of slowly developed. And then we ended up kind of developing roles through the whole EP, like kind of. Like Reggie ran most of the sessions while I stood at the instruments and like, are we good to go? Okay, cool. And then we'd do a take, and then we'd switch, and then we'd do like, it was actually kind of fun. Like this is like, it kind of felt like that old school band thing where you'd like sit like you and I used to do. Where literally sit like Saturday mornings and just try to have like come up with something to play together. And it felt very organic, like very much like old school in your parents' basement kind of like a feel. Which is nice.
I felt like it really evolved too as the album kind of came together. Like at first it was a lot more it felt like at first we'd have brainstorming sessions for songs where we'd be throwing different, like we'd try to come up with different loops or try to come up with different like melodic sequences, and then figure out what works, figure out what didn't. And then as we kind of like built this giant maximal thing, we started stripping away, changing ideas to fit things more. Like I keep coming back to Gamma Ray, but one of the things that was crazy about Gamma Ray is the bass line that kind of runs throughout the whole song. That's kind of the anchor point. That was one of the last things that we added. And originally only at the very end of the track, and we couldn't figure out how to tie it together. We had too many ideas running across. And I kept thinking we need like an anchor point.
Yeah, we had 3 bass lines.
Yeah, we had 3 different. We had 3
like
different
every
things going
transition,
on.
the bass line changed, and yeah.
So for this EP,
That's
it felt
great.
very trial and error in a lot of ways, kind of because neither of us had been in a duo with electronic music before. I think each of us can relate.
Wow.
We were used to having complete creative control over the process, and
Yeah.
that was a huge learning curve too, is learning how to give up control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was definitely strange. Like, I remember one time, because sometimes we'd work on our own to like do things.
Yeah.
And I remember I specifically opened up the project file and I didn't recognize everything, like every aspect of it, like every little like velocity thing or whatever synth line that, like whatever manipulation we had done processing. Like there were some things I didn't know because Reggie had done it, and there's some things he didn't know because I had done it.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, oh, this is weird. And it was just kind of a moment where you're like, oh, this is a different position I've been in. And it's, at first it was like, I don't know if frustrating is not the word. It was more of like,
In a way though, like disorienting. For sure. No, for sure. Like disorienting.
Yeah, disorienting is a good way to say
definitely.
it. Yeah.
Not frustration with you, but like
No.
frustration at the project file. Like,
Yeah.
I could have sworn I had a kick in here. Like,
Yeah.
where's this
And
flap? Like,
and you're like searching through it, trying to find like, okay, where did he put it? And then you have to like think of your friend on how he does things. versus how
project
I-
organization.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
I
my
organize-
gosh.
he organizes things by like colors via whether it's the final take or whether he likes the take.
Yeah.
Whereas I have like each instrument is a color, so I'll have like it basically represents like my grouping.
Yeah.
So just learning each other's styles on that,
Which was pretty
That's
disorienting. Talk
funny.
about disorienting, just like looking at all the different colors. And I changed colors once, and he literally was like, dude, I don't know what this is. I have a system. We need to... I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I just use the colors as like, if it's a different color, like red or orange or something on the take itself. If it's like something that's a good idea.
yeah,
That's
Which is
so
fun.
funny
great.
stuff.
Yeah.
Funny stuff.
Well, that's the dopest thing about the creative process when you're working with other people is that you have that chance to kind of, I don't know, share the wisdom, share your processes, see how you see things. Kind of again, like I like how you put it, Reggie, where in terms that like you're stripping things away. It's like that refinement, you know, it's the creative and destructive aspect with making something. And that's so powerful when you have two people that are going back and forth. It's like a tennis match.
Yeah, it is.
It felt kind of like how democracy is supposed to work.
Oh my God, we're really getting into that right now.
I'm not gonna go into politics thing.
Man.
I think we can, but more so just like having kind of not necessarily competing, but two brains putting in enough effort that like trying to find that middle ground. Usually that's where you get that gem, is like where Reggie would do things that I would never think to do. And then I hope vice versa.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
especially low key, just like a lot of the musical ideas that really took a lot of the projects to life, just like little musical details and stuff. It would be, I'd be stuck on it, and then Taylor would sit down with some of his synths, and the next time we'd open it up, we'd be like, whoa, what was that? That's it. That's like exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
And what I think would be something as a throwaway ended up being like a final take. Or something like that. It was just cool. Like the perfectionism for me runs pretty deep. So Reggie had to, that was definitely, I'm sure it was a learning thing where I was like, well, let's do it again. And you get to a point where you realize that like, and it's actually like hitting on the synths and stuff, like imperfections are kind of things that like really make it. And like, I mean, Tides was an entire accident. Complete accident. And it was and we were having like studio issues. It was just like patching or something. Like we had done something, like we were just messing with it and trying to, we were fussing with something. And while it was like kind of like in between things, I was just kind of making sure we had a signal and playing around. And
you're playing that B section.
Yeah, and I was just playing the piano, and we were both kind of just like stopped. And he's like, "Well, what are you doing there?" And like,
keep doing that.
Keep doing it. And did you just press record?
Yeah, you didn't know I was recording.
Yeah, I think he just pressed record. I was like, oh. And you're like, yeah, I think this is an idea.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of ran for it because we never wanted to do a full 3-track EP. We were only going to do like, doubles like A and B.
Yeah, that was going to be our thing.
Yeah, and
little mixtape kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like kind of beat tapes, like, or just like the old school like EPs, those actual like 7 inches. Seven, like you only had enough space on the records. There's only A and B, so it was kind of like literally going back to the old school, going back to roots of music.
Yeah. Talk about a collaborative track though, like Tides. One of the cool things about it is there's like a lot of LFO rate modulation going on with some of the synths on the cutoff filter, and I was controlling that while Taylor was playing the synth. Yeah. So you literally had like two people creating something without really knowing what the other's about to do. So it has this very improvisatory, collaborative kind of nature to that part, which is
it's that flow.
Yeah.
That kind of just like effortless state where you're just kind of going.
Yes.
Wherever it takes you, is that just whatever needs to express itself comes out. And that's honestly like one of my favorite tracks, because that's the one where you're just like, this is in a movie. This needs to be in a movie right now.
Which is so funny, because I was like, that's the song I was going to listen to. This is like for us, like this is an experimental thing. And like most people tend to like really enjoy that song. Yeah. And we didn't think that was like the song that people would really be like super into, just because we were hoping for it to be a house album.
Well, it's its own type of electronic sound, and I think that's the thing where it's like you guys find that, you know, just kind of going off the cuff, being like just being in the same environment and just kind of just winging it in that flow, you created something that really transcended something that people knew. And I think that's the stuff with me where it's like, you know, we all talk about like the techno origins, but like that's Ghost Gun, like
no doubt,
that's Ghost Gun, like
no doubt. Man, and I think that's something that we've always tried for with Ghost Gun, is to have almost like a cinematic aspect at all times. Like we had a concept for the album when we sat down to start making it. We've had like visual pieces tied with in our heads, at least, with each song. And so it really feels honoring, really, to hear that cinematic aspect came across.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how it couldn't. Like, I don't know anyone that could listen to that and just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, because again, it takes you places.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out Vangelis. I watched a lot of the 2 Blade Runner movies during the making of Tides, for sure.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It was just like, it's that kind of like new age, like this needs to be in one of those like cyberpunk, like literally like what the future of music can go, like easily.
Which is kind of interesting, because that's like the whole, originally we were hoping to make a kind of like cyberpunk or like new wave or vaporwave type of a project.
At least always be inspired by it.
At least inspired by it, but then bring that kind of that visual element and that I guess vibe into like the house techno world. Like,
it felt like this cool intersection to be able to take like that almost post-apocalyptic kind of cyberpunk feel that the world's getting a little too close to for comfort, and like try to apply that real stress. Like, I mean, like for real, try to take the stress of the pandemic and all the like politics stuff going on and really find a way to express that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, it's the Bob Ross, man. It's the happy.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like,
definitely.
It transformed into something where I think I had messaged you, because the EP came out last Friday. I think I messaged you, Taylor. I was just like, yo, I feel like I just want to like go out and like fight somebody or like go do something. Go journey. I'm just like, it feels like you're going literally, like, that's one of the things with like literally all the songs, they take you through that kind of like the high and lows, and they kind of get you going. And that one left me like incredibly like inspirational, amped. Like when I listened to it, I was just like, wait, what did I just listen to? I gotta run that back.
Oh man. Yeah.
That's how we felt when we asked our friend Aileen, who's Awake the Dawn, to come.
Yo, Aileen, if you're watching this, thank you so much. By the way,
real, Aileen. She is a powerhouse. She is
for real.
Amazing composer, instrumentalist, vocalist, everything. And because we brought it to her as a pretty much finished product, like for
basically
the most
just
part,
the instrumental
little thing. For the instrumental. And she sent us a demo within like of the chorus melodies within like a couple hours.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you guys think of these harmonies? I'm just playing around. And we were like, yeah.
That's dope. Keep doing that.
Yeah,
doing that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And she sent the final vocals, like she recorded on her own, sent it to us, which is another cool process. Like, it seems to be a new age thing of people being able to collaborate across oceans, across like nations.
Yeah, she's in Hawaii
currently, but she lives in California. But she sent the final vocal take was literally just her first draft to us, and we were like, yeah, no, I literally can't do anything else.
Dude.
Like, what do you want me to do? Yeah.
Mirrors brings you to that nostalgic like house though. That's what I was saying. It was like the moment you hear the voice, I was just like, oh, turn that up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the stuff where it's like, again, when you have the extra combination of creative talent like that, like for me, I think it brought into like those Tiesto vibes, those Avicii vibes, like that Daft Punk vibe, where it's like, dude, this is like the new, as I like to say.
Oh, nice. The new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, oh man, that song is just, it's almost anthemic. Like it really kind of hits this ethereal point, and like the song. Yeah, exactly. It gets you moving for sure. And that's the thing, is like the lyrics are talking about like bettering yourself, right? And like dying to your old self, and like to allow the new self to come through, ego death. Exactly. And like learning that sometimes the most flawed perception of ourself comes from that reflection.
Yes.
So you have to like shed that, not get in our head, and keep evolving.
That process of unfoldment.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is entirely like needed for any sort of creative process.
Oh man, definitely.
Like, I think music is one of those things, especially like I consider to be one of the most humbling like things I've ever tried to do in my life. It just you can become so incredibly frustrated very quickly, but it also has the rewards are so much like vaster on like a deep like ethereal level that it's just that in order to maintain that process and to get it to a point of like realization, you really have to like shed your ego and really look at yourself and like, where am I currently, and how do I get to a point, and what do I need to do to get to where I want to be?
Oh man, yeah.
Which is the whole finishing a project. Like we both could contest of finishing anything. There's a moment of where you make the thing, which is the fun part. Always the fun part.
Right.
Yeah. And then some of the process can be fun, like trying to battle it out and figure out. But like at a certain point, you said it earlier, like you literally just have to like surrender yourself to the project and then just kind of chase where that's going.
Yeah.
Whatever predispositions you had going into it, like that's gone. Like I think that's like, I've been trying to like separate my expectations for the art that I make and for the music that I make from what is actually coming out. Like this process really kind of showed that, I mean, coming from being furloughed from like work and having all this time for myself, just sitting at home, being able to work on music, you can hit this rut where if you're not productive every day, you feel like crap. And if you're feeling like crap, you're not going to be more productive. So it gets in this vicious cycle. But you kind of have to, at some point, you kind of just have to choose to get up and keep going on it. And like this EP, I feel like gave both of us something to really hone that skill with during quarantine and lockdown and all that. And also just that emotional catharsis of like putting all of the stress, all of the fear, all of those emotions into something and see it come to fruition.
Dude.
That's just wild. Yeah.
It comes across.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That means a lot. Yeah.
But,
What are you still trying to do, Reggie? What was that last point?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I was just gonna say like, I don't know. I feel like just as creatives, we get so wrapped up in our heads and we get so we get so trapped by that perfectionism. But when you separate those expectations from it and just give it out, let it be heard, people create their own. And that is just as fulfilling, if not more, than the expectations that you had. Yeah. You got to play that balancing act.
it's a liberating feeling when you really just kind of let the reins go in that sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff where it's when it's kind of like you have to enter into the unknown to really discover something new. And
Absolutely.
It's the mental rat race that so many people have. Like, it's beautiful that you guys, as I like to say, is like you transform that suffering into power, because just so many people I've found that have actually been experiencing kind of like a negative experience with this lockdown and everything. It's because they haven't had that creative expression. And I think that's one of the real purposes of this show, is to kind of show everyone that, like, yo, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everyone's creative.
Yes.
There's always something that you can do, and there's always something that you can try and pick up and learn and grow.
Yeah.
And really transform not only your lives, but others. Because, like, that's the beautiful thing of music.
Yes.
That it's like, yo, this is changing people. And I think with your guys' EP, it's definitely going to change the electronic scene. Like, I don't know how it
I hope
can.
so. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, you really really nailed it, because I really feel like music is one of those things that it feels so human, like, and so innately human, that, like, I really truly feel that it's however our professors would tell you that talent is earned, which I do think people
Definitely.
have a certain like affinity for being able to like create something.
But it's all about that work put in, man.
Work put in, and I think I think a lot of music is something that anyone could do if they just spend time.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Time.
If you
Consistency.
Consistency is huge.
Like,
oh man.
Tone deafness doesn't really actually exist. Like, when people say they're
Right.
tone deaf, it's like, no, dude, you just you
Yeah.
haven't had the time, you just haven't
Ear
put the
training.
effort because you've had other things.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
can be just as good as I am if you did the same amount of time as I did, or that like 180,000 is that 180,000 hours?
10,000.
10,000. 180.
We're all trying to get to 180 though.
Yeah.
And it's one step at a time. And I think that's the thing that people always lack, is that they allow the whole like end journey, that expectations you were talking about, where it goes into like, they put that kind of end goal in their head instead of realizing it's like, no, that's just like the direction you have to set.
Yeah.
That's it. But other than that, you got to set your sails and go. Like, you can't sit there and worry about it. Like, you just have to keep pushing. And then it's like when you get through, it's almost like I like to express it to some of like my meditation students, is like, it's that feeling you get when you're underwater and you're like running out of air and you like breach the surface and you're like, oh, this is a new plane. And you're like, oh, shit, I don't need the old one.
I've been doing these breathing exercises that focus on like over oxygenation of your lungs, followed by extended periods of holding your breath.
Oh yeah.
Doing kind of like the Wim Hof method and stuff like that. And that's really shown me, you can hold your breath for a lot longer than you think you can. And just kind of learning how to delay that gratification of literally just taking a breath, something you need to live. Learning how to delay that and slow down your desire to just kind of suck air in without thinking about it.
Ooh.
Those little mindfulness things have helped me with things like creativity, getting up each day and not being like, I need to create the best tech house banger yet. Instead, just being like, well, why don't I get up and just work on creating drum kits? Or why don't I wake up and like work on making my Ableton template a little cleaner, a little nicer? Just finding something every day to do. Because like you said, it's all consistency. I feel like consistency is that key.
Creativity has many different facets. Like, people are creative when they're cooking. People are creative when they're cleaning.
Yeah.
Like, you can do household chores creatively.
Yeah.
Like,
They're more fun that way.
Yeah. I think just learning a way to be able to do with what you have at the time, like whatever emotional capacity you have at the moment, and being able to do what you can at that time should be enough.
Ooh, but how dare you be content?
Oh, absolutely. I say that. I say
For
that,
real,
and
though.
I don't act on that at all. Like, I've always had this like immature like predispositions or pre-notions of what an artist really means. Like, you have to be tortured and have to have like, you have to stay up like a mad scientist and never sleep, and like that doesn't do anything.
No.
Like, that actually just, you spin your wheels for years. Like,
You burn out too, right?
you burn out very fast. Like,
Oh, that's too funny.
There's I know.
Holistic health, man. Cannot stress it enough.
Yeah.
It brings back.
A holistic health and mindfulness and like mind, body, soul, in order to be able to like achieve, is something that's actually incredibly important.
Yeah.
And I think I'm only really recently discovering that. Like, I think I always thought it was better just to grind and like get through the thing and just power through it. And no matter, like, my determination was the thing that was going to make the art. And forcing something like when it's 2 a.m, you're absolutely tired and you're just, everything you're about to do, you're going to have to redo and delete tomorrow. But like, I never knew that because I thought it was like, oh, well, I'm going to determine and tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and be like, wow, I sacrificed and I really like made something.
Oh man.
Sacrifice doesn't have to be your health for art. It's just, there is something there when you have so much commitment though, that you're willing. We were talking about flow state. You get to a flow state and you're like, holy crap, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That's different than
that's
forcing.
Dope.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen every time.
Yeah, which definitely happened on this EP a few times. Like,
yeah. Ooh, that's beautiful though.
Yeah,
that's the magic right there.
Yeah,
then it's like you're high on life.
Yeah,
you're
energized. Exactly.
Yeah. I think there was one day we finished at like 2:30, and I had work the next morning, and I was like, and I felt fine the next day. Like, oh yeah, I feel totally satisfied. Like, you can run on not a lot of sleep. Now, definitely. Is it like really sustainable? No. But
I'd say though, like one of the biggest things was, again, just like learning how to have limits. Like one of our college professors, Brian Chin, really stresses that like you only really get about a half hour of deep learning or deep practice at a time. And really the critical point is about 15 minutes. So it takes you about 15. If you sit down to work on something, whether it's doing scales, working on production, mixing, whatever it is, you have about 15 minutes where your brain is warming up and getting in the zone. You've got about a half hour-ish where your brain is like able to focus at its max, and then maybe another 15 to cool off, or where you start to get distracted. And if you can work like that and you can really try to be focused for short amount of time, I feel like that was less taxing for us and helped us break through some of those creative pushes than when we'd like just stay grinding on the same idea for like 6 hours in an afternoon. That would just kind of tank morale. We'd be exhausted. Our brains would be tired. And all the little breakthrough moments.
Talk about the project.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were weeks where we were going to throw in the towel. We were like, it's 3 songs. It should not be taking 6 months. Yeah. But
we went on a walk once. We were both like, this is the longest amount of time we've spent on a project. Like, is this really worth it? Did we do it right? Like,
but we pushed through.
Yeah, we came to a point. It was more of like, no, like, we're two friends that have wanted to do this for a long time.
Very long time. I feel like now in this day and age, though, like maybe this is just speaking for me too. I don't want to speak for Taylor, but I feel like especially as men, like we have to be hyper aware of those limits and those boundaries, right? And there's a lot of, for fear of using a buzzword, there's a lot of toxic or unhealthy or dangerous trauma responses that a lot of men have that culturally kind of get perpetuated. And I feel like as society is becoming aware of that, and as men, we're trying to shed that, it's important to be just open with your emotions. Like I felt I have not had a ton of male friendships where I've been able to be as emotionally vulnerable or open as I have with Taylor. Same. And I feel like that very much fuels our ability to create.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like, that's just so important. Like we're not going to be able to heal all the dangerous and unhealthy aspects of masculinity if we're not in touch with those positive, like healthy ones. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's like nail on the head, as I like to say, because it comes back to when you think of the balance and the harmony. You know, I think that's one of the things that people always forget, that it's like, you know, it doesn't matter what you believe, how you see things. If you just want to think about it like the energy, it's like you have those dual forces of energy, and each of us has it with us. You know, all of us were little boys at some point in time. We were all children, and we can all relate to that innocence and that effortlessness of being in the flow. Yeah. And you have to have that balance between, you know, like your own masculinity, but also like the feminine natures that is more of a creative thing. Like men, as guys, like people just want to like listen to a brief, I guess you could say it's almost like I don't even know how I'd say, it's like a historical, it's a physical, it's a scientific aspect, where it's like men, you know, in a spiritual point, we're the destructive force. You know, we destroy, we war, we defend, definitely. We have to like do that stuff, but we're all human beings. We all have that capacity of creation. We are also able to create life. Yeah. And, you know, and it's that concept where you have to have the harmony within yourself. And I think that's one of the things that you hit like earlier, Reggie, is that as men, we have so many different like toxic things that we've been conditioned to that we've never been able to really heal or treat ourselves in a proper way. And like, and it's vice versa with women. Like we see like masculine women that express more of the masculine go-getter like types of things for like the guy hunter style, as like we call them like bitches. And guys that are more emotional and sensitive, we call them pansies and things like this, where it's like
patsies or simps or whatever.
Right. And exactly. And it's like, well, it puts us in a point where it's like we're ignoring aspects of our nature. And anytime you do that, you're going to lead into an issue or a destructive problem. And so it's, I think it's like the coolest thing that I've seen with like our generation right now and just kind of the wave that's really transforming is that we're all starting to recognize these things and know that it's like, that wasn't right that I learned. And to me, it's incredibly exciting from a spiritual perspective because I've been on this ride. I've had my 10,000 hour. I'm on that. I'm going for that 180,000 hours.
180.
It's one of those things where I'm like, it's that point where, you know, we as a society are starting to really wake up to the fact where it's like we have to respect, like I always like to say, it's the namaste. You have to respect that divine within each of us. And it comes to that point where it's like we have both energies. And as a guy and as a, you know, as a male and that masculine energy, like we need to learn how to put out our fire, how to tone it down a little bit because we don't want to burn the whole forest down. But like, you know, having a nice fire when it's cold at night is loving. It's you know what I mean? Like you can cook some grub on it. You get it warmed up by fire. Like
exactly.
I love it. I love the way this went. This is dope.
Yeah. Me too, man.
I definitely agree with like I think in terms of like just spirituality and self-embetterment, I feel like I'm kind of at like a yellow belt, blue belt kind of a thing where I've like learned it, but I felt like I haven't done the work to put myself there yet. So I'm like I'm aware of the bad thoughts and things that happen, but like, and the negativity that comes through, but like, it's not necessarily like, it's not always easy to act upon it. And I think even just being friends with Reggie and having friends a lot of other friends that are much more of like being more mindful of like how they are emotionally and where they are emotionally, instead of just my instinct as a person is just to bury it and to move forward and just be like, forget about it. And I'll use that emotion and that like whatever
old school style,
school style for sure. And like, but like, even just like when I was in early college, just like having that aspect of learning where I was able to like, oh no, that was a bad way of doing things. Like being able to like, being able to say sorry or being able to like admit that I didn't know everything or being able to admit that I wasn't like I didn't do the right thing, but being able to do it in a way immediately that still gives yourself the self-respect aspect that I still respect myself. I'm allowed to have mistakes because I am human, but also knowing that those mistakes are the things that help you grow and learn. And and we were talking about talk about breathing and just like aspects of self-embetterment, like full circle back to the ego death aspect in terms of this EP, like even just for myself, like reading a lot of Zen Buddhism and things like that when I was younger really came into play of like, if I really want to be better, I have to really see myself for me and where I am, and knowing that I'm going to come with flaws and be able to accept them, but also be able to put them away and resolve them within myself. If it means I don't get the resolve in the real world, I can resolve them here, which is 90%.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like you're waiting on something, Reggie. I feel like you're just sitting back being like,
I was just
get in there.
I was like, no, that's exactly it. I feel like it's for me, like one of the biggest patterns in my life, one of the biggest recurring themes is just balance. Like I'm a very extreme person by nature, and I have a lot of like, I feel like all my sliders are full sliders, right? I'm all in or I'm all out. But life doesn't work that way. And life kind of just by nature needs balance. And like, I feel like exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, it's the whole like old
emotionally and stuff.
People where they are, and that goes for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Well, it comes back to the point too, where it's really funny because, you know, when you guys were both talking about like the intimidation aspect that you felt and like the tension because I see that as like you felt the tension and those types of energies between each other. And
absolutely,
I always try to point my students towards, it's like, hey, tension is a sign, like emotionally, like we're receivers. We can pick up on so much different stuff that we're not even aware of yet just because of the immaturity or lack of development of our society. But back to the point, just because like when you sense that tension and you can really feel it, it's a sign that it's like the most opportunistic way, or just it has a pathway of great growth.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about that, and being able to kind of recognize that. And no one knows what happens in life, right? It just happens, and then we're meant to deal with it. But as I see it, it's that beautiful dance where it's like you're the water, you're the fire. And as I have it in a song from the Hawaii LPO, is one of the songs I featured on, and it's like dancing like a double helix. It's like that necessary boundary, and you have to have both energies to really have the water that you can drink, because water that's too cold, not good for you. Water that's too hot, gonna burn yourself. But that warm, it's that just right, that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
As beings, it's like, it's so cool just to see that type of natural energy just kind of gravitate towards one another, and then it develops into something like this. Because again, like you guys, like bringing it back to the EP, like that Ghost Gun EP, man, like that, it's a transformational type of sound. And I think that's the coolest thing, is just being able to get to know you guys and chat about it. Is like, yeah, you rode that wave, and you guys were cross each other's paths at the perfect moment. And I think it's something that like a lot of people miss on, and they would use those situations. Like, I like to express it like this. This is one of my first little intros to people in like a consultation or something, is, you know, how we perceive things. It's, imagine you're back in middle school. It's like your crush, and they invite you to a party, and you go in there and you walk in the door, and you like see her or see him wherever you're at across the room, for all you listeners out there. And you start to instantly go in your mind to being like, oh my gosh, they even want me here. And then you see him talking to someone of like the opposite sex or whatever it is, and they're just like, oh, they're having a good time, they're smiling, their arm over cheek, and you're just like, oh my gosh, oh no, like your heart just starts to break. You start to feel the tension, and it's either you have to either stay or walk away. And how many people choose to just create the mind games and the traps and walk away, versus going up to them. And then when you talk to your crush, they're like, oh, hey, this is my cousin. Oh, I've heard so much about you. Like, dap you up and give you a hug. Exactly. And then you're like,
oh, it was the cousin? Oh man. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
I
love it.
My God. That's such a good analogy.
That's a very good analogy.
Because we've all been there.
Yes.
Like,
all the time.
We create our own suffering. And it's like, Taylor, I think you said like 90%. Like, no, I see it as like 95 to 98%. We create our own trouble, we create our own chaos, and it's that expectation, it's that assumption that it's like a veil, and you know, when we see through that, we distort reality, and it's not even there. So like, the beauty of a duo and a beauty of a team is being able to have someone that's just like, that's not a real thing.
Exactly. One of those phrases that keeps kind of getting repeated to me over the past couple of months is like, trust yourself and know that the universe has you right where you're meant to be. Like, I've had 4 very important people say that to me in the past couple months, and I've really felt that kind of resonate, because I do tend to kind of keep myself in a state of like being on edge, to keep myself from being comfortable, or to try to keep myself going. But I also know that like, I appreciate comfort, and I appreciate good things, and I appreciate being fulfilled and happiness. And I'm learning how often I'm the one preventing me from having those things. They're all right there. It's my head that's stopping me from getting there. So I've been really trying to, through a lot of the marketing push with this EP, through a lot of the like the mastering and the final mixing, just kind of like trusting myself, not second guessing or doubting myself, being confident in myself, listening to the peers and the friends that I've like, that the universe has brought around me. And then just honestly trusting, having some kind of faith to just know that I'm meant to be here. And it's like, I'm here for a reason. I'm meant to be.
That's so powerful, because I feel like that's something that hella people lack, is that trust. And I think I love how you put the association of trust and faith, because that's exactly how I see it. Because belief is that assumption. It's like, you don't know it, you haven't practiced it, you're not trying to apply it. But when you put yourself in the position to truly just be here and just be grateful for what's around you, and just to commit to your own like genuine self, life opens up so many doorways of opportunity that so many people just close willingly, because they're like, no, they're not going to like that, no, they're not going to like this. It's like, you don't know that.
Exactly.
Don't know.
So many assumptions. So many assumptions just got to get over them.
Well, it's what I mean, it kind of touches back to earlier. It's like assumptions leads to suffering, and expectations, you know, lead to letdowns and judgments, and again, more suffering.
Yeah.
There's no one there to editorialize your feedback loop in your head.
Yeah.
There's like
That's the challenge.
It's an open circuit that just keeps going, and it can collect momentum, and you choose to put the energy. There's even a disclosure song that's out now. It's like talk about the energy that you put in, which Reggie played for me the other day, and he was like, I truly believe this. And I remember it prompted discussion. Even just then I was like, well, I don't know, I think balance is everything, and like you can't always have positive mindset, you can't always just be like, but like it is true, like having that aspect of like having the trust and being positive and putting that energy into the positivity instead of always acknowledging the negative aspects or the things you could work on, and the flaws that you have, but not putting the energy into those, but putting your energy into the positive. And I think that's one of the more hard aspects of like living as an adult, like as a human being on earth. Like as a kid, I don't think kids always like kids at first, especially little ones, like the positive energy is like where they put a lot of their time just naturally. Like, and I think there's almost a childlike aspect to creativity that's like bringing you back to, as you were saying earlier, that like openness and that just kind of overall understanding that really just like, that it's much bigger than just like, how am I going to pay the bills? And like having a wider aspect than just the bumpers that are put and barriers that are put on life by society, and just your expectations for yourself can just easily give you a crutch and end up paralyzing you in the end. You don't ever even move anywhere.
Well, it's even the societal expectations, and I think it's kind of like, I mean, we're conditioned in a lot of ways like that, because I think it's, you bring it back to the baby infant states, and it's like, you know, if one of my biggest kind of like go-to statements is, why are you judging yourself? Why are you so upset with like quote unquote failure? There's no such thing. Like if you learn a lesson, you get better, you improve, you do well, you have something to again evaluate and improve upon. But like if we were such like adults as babies and infants, no one would know how to walk, no one would know how to talk, how to write or read, because it's like, how do you learn how to walk? Like you fall down repeatedly until you get it. And like the baby, the moment they get it, they're like,
and then they fall
again. Immediately,
but they get back up. No, exactly. Man, trying to get into that childlike state of just like not being afraid of failure. Oh my God, that's
a whole nother level.
But like, I feel like that's so pertinent as creatives. Like you have to, because I feel like exactly what you said with expectations leading to letdown. I mean, like, talk about the producer trap, like build up a whole bunch of expectations for your next release, and no matter how well it does, it's probably not going to meet those expectations for like 98% of us. And so like you go back and you're just happy for the process, and you're happy that you put it out, and you can't let that expectation hold you back. You can let it like accelerate you to greatness, but the second it starts holding you back, you just got to let it go.
Right. But again, like that's such a societal trap that they put a lot of people into, especially with education. I feel like that stuff's gotten worse with like the push of test and all these other things where it's, you have to get your percentage, you have to get this and that. Because it's just it creates this weird psychosis of just like the fear of failure, the fear of wrong, the fear of bad. It's that law. It's like what you were talking about earlier in terms of the circuit, where it's like I see it as like that's one of the laws of the universe, law of inertia. And it's like if you just keep forcing kids like throughout these processes, throughout like what from 5 to 18 and beyond, like to fear to make mistakes, to fear to fail, quote unquote. Like what are you creating this type of mentality and like emotional state and physical state for someone to really succeed in life? Like you're taking away that spark and drive to really know that we have to kind of go through that failure to really learn and grow. It's wild to me.
I'm gonna pop in.
Ooh,
Hey.
Excellent.
Wow. Like I have such a gift being producer, because I get to hear everything, and I exposed to meeting, to the conversations, and get to meet new and interesting people each and every week. I know that you have a relationship that, with Peter from previous and me just having met you. It is that childlike innocence that we were just talking about, like getting to know something for the first time and experiencing someone like this experience is new. Now, you guys sitting in your studio just yakking with each other isn't new, but for all us viewers, it's new to us. So we get to experience that as that childlike innocence, like, what is this? What's this all about? And I believe to kind of jump in here, because I felt compelled to share, is
please.
That childlike innocence is actually kind of like the core of creativity for me. It's creating something new for the first time. Like you were talking about how you created a beat and it was kind of by accident. And as you were doing something, keep going, record it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so this to me is kind of like what life is all about. Like this moment hasn't happened yet, but we're living it as if we're already 10 steps ahead of ourselves. Like we already have our dinner planned out and what we're having for breakfast tomorrow, what we're wearing and what we're going to do this weekend, what we're going to say and who we're going to talk to and how it's going to be. And if anything gets in my way and it all turns to crap, well, then it's your fault, not mine, and rather than being it and making it up as we go. Like we had no idea what we're going to talk about when we started the show, and look what we covered so much.
It was so organic. It was so organic.
Absolutely so much.
And so even though you're sitting in your studio like you do on the moment is new, the conversation is new, and this experience is new. And so thank you for like bringing that realness and truth to our show.
Yeah,
of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a great forum of just like open creative conversation. Like you don't get to have that all the time.
No.
Like almost never. Like I mean, we're lucky that we're in a duo that we talk about creativity a lot, but it's not in a sense of like creativity as a thing, as an obtainable aspect of life, like something that we perform and do as human beings on this planet. Like maintaining that curiosity of like that childlike curiosity is
so crucial.
It's so crucial, as you said. Like, like producing a video is like very similar as like producing a song. Like when it's done, or even just the process, you're like the excitement that you get from just like making something, like as if you're in your parents' basement making a Lego thing again.
Because
used to get so amped on those two.
As a media producer, when I'm working with clients, they already have a vision of what it is they want to create. Let's say an artist, a musician, they want to create a music video, or they want to create a website, or they want to create a workshop, or and so they have a vision of how it's going to be. And but how to get there is really the mystery. That's the fun part. And it's the exploring. And how we do that is where the journey lies.
Absolutely.
And we think that, we're supposed to know this stuff, that this is how it's supposed to be. Like there's a certain way things are supposed to be. And there isn't.
No, there is not.
No, absolutely not.
Well, that's not how you make a song. You're supposed to make it this way.
Well, I even just music theory and things like that. Like it's good to know music theory. Like I think it's a tool, but at a certain point it just becomes like, again, those barriers of like hurdles of that you have to get over, or expectations. And like it kind of goes back to like just making a thing to enjoy the process of making a thing. Like even just like that Lego analogy, like as little kids, like how often you just make something and you're like, cool, and then just blow it up. Like, and that was like, and you're like, oh, wow, that was really fun. Anyway, and just move on with your day. Like nothing happened. And like, as an adult, like the thing falling apart after you took so much time that it seems like a failure, but in reality, like it never failed at all because you spent the time doing it.
Or it becomes some idolization point that they worship, and if anything happens, it's like a heart crushing thing.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And being valued for what we create as workers or employees versus who we are and the like actual things we create because of our person.
How many likes did it get? How many plays did it get? Like
it's interesting because we use failure synonymous with wrong.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like there's connotation that, oh, that's wrong, it's bad. And so, there's, right. And so I embrace failure.
Absolutely.
And so, like, even let's talk about graphic art. You're making a logo for the first time. You already know there's going to be 10 different revisions. Like, just get one made.
Definitely.
Just get
10
one
is
made.
a good. Yeah, 10. That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, how many versions of a song till it's the actual final version?
So many.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Way
not
too
even
many.
enough to even talk about.
Well, 'cause it's like the beautiful thing about, I mean, it's kind of been touched upon earlier, where it's like we talk about, you're only living moment by moment. Every slice of now is that experience, and you're going to be a different person tomorrow than you were yesterday. And if you're not, I think that's a huge issue for people. It's like there's so much normalcy in the insanity that people live that is so against the human spirit. And I think that's I like the Lego analogy, because it brings us to the point where it's, creative expression is play.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and people really they confine themselves and put up walls around themselves, and they become a quote unquote adult. And that somehow is synonymous with not being able to be playful or have that experience of getting back to that childlike state. And it's such a travesty, and it's a huge societal tragedy.
Well, the tragedy is adults behaving as children, thinking they're adults.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's also that too.
There's a lot of grown children out there that, just because of how we operate, because again, you have that job, you have that product. Well, I have this certificate, I have this degree, I have this salary, like that. It somehow puts you above or below people.
Sure. Yeah, it's almost that they didn't do the work on themselves, and they didn't keep that curiosity, and the childlike aspects are there because the thing never got it never really got fully developed. Like, you never really full up to that curiosity as a child, or that aspect that made you, and so there's a dissonance within you, and that comes into play as an immaturity.
Yeah.
These are great lessons for I never quit learning. I mean, every day I'm looking for what's next. There's always lessons. And
you have to.
Yeah. So I'm actually there's a lot of great takeaways for me personally. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'm like, there's a lot of great takeaways. Feel very inspired just from this conversation.
It's very mutual.
Well, spontaneous right action occurs when a body as a whole agrees with the moment. It allows the energy to flow with uncertainty and doubt.
I like that.
That's amazing.
Yes. And so we're going to end on that.
I like that a lot.
When everything is in agreement with what is so, we are able to respond to what is next. So experiences are meant to be experienced in the moment. Even though we stash them, we try and save them and re-experience them over a lifetime. There's nothing greater than the experience that we're experiencing right now. We're alive. We're grateful to be alive. Grateful to the viewers for joining us today. Thank you, Taylor and Reggie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The term I'm looking for is, I would actually call you guys musical alchemists.
Hey, I like that.
I like that.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next EP. No.
Yes, it's a musical cocktail. There is really no genre to it. You guys just kind of created your own lane. So congratulations to you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This has been a very enlightening and rejuvenating conversation.
Thank you for getting the point of the deeper level of the show and what we're really trying to build here, man.
I mean, I listened to watched one video and I was like, yep, they get it. Yeah.
Well, every moment is an opportunity to practice acceptance and detachment. And over time, that'll become a natural state of being called neutrality.
Absolutely.
Until next week, have a happy always.
Peace.
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching. Join us every Thursday at 3:33 p.m. Pacific Daily Time as creative minds get together and chat about who knows what. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible.
Thanks for joining us.